What's good, y'all? We back with another video, man, and today I have a very, very special video for y'all because I will be going over the GOAT of every pro wrestling skill of all time. Now, I have about 4 criterias that I will be going by in this video, naming the GOAT of each criteria and the runner-ups. So, you know what I'm saying? This is really a personal list and my personal opinion. So, hey, man, let's get right into this video, man. I'm not going to keep y'all waiting much longer. My first criteria is in-ring. And as you can see, for in-ring, my greatest of all time is Bret the Hitman Hart, man. Bret the Hitman Hart, in my opinion, is the greatest in-ring performer of all time. There are so many greats that I have not listed in this video. Guys like Benoit, guys like Guerrero. You know what I'm saying? And plenty more at that. You can name some current guys like Will Ospreay, Okada, Kenny Omega. The list goes on and on. But when I think of, you know what I'm saying, the GOAT, the absolute best in the ring, just strictly alone in the ring, I'm taking Bret the Hitman Hart, man. I'm taking Bret the Hitman Hart. The runner-ups I have are just as, you know what I'm saying, like the runner-ups could take Bret the Hitman Hart's spot. Guys like Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, Kurt Angle. Now, it was a serious case between Bret Hart and Kurt Angle, man. Even Shawn Michaels. And then you see, lastly, I had Bryan Danielson. You know, it could have either went Bret Hart or fucking Kurt Angle. You know, I'm a huge Kurt Angle fan. And, you know, Kurt Angle is a fucking phenomenon in that square circle. But I did go with Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret Hart deserves his flowers. Bret Hart really paved the way for a lot of guys today in modern day wrestling. But, you know, the runner-ups could just as well be the GOAT, you know what I'm saying, the GOAT of in the ring, you know. Ric Flair, you're going to see Ric Flair's name pop up in this video quite a bit. But Ric Flair as well. He is a damn good competitor in the ring, man. He's had some of the best matches of all time. But yeah, man, Bret Hart, it's just really hard to pass up against a guy like Bret Hart, you know. Came straight out the Hart Dungeon, was the face of the WWF for a long time until he got screwed over in the Montreal Screwjob. You know, has had main events after main events, went over to WCW. Didn't really do as well in WCW like he did in WWF, but, you know, it is what it is. You cannot deny this man's skill and the absolute fucking intensity and just the ring prowess that he brought. He brought every time he stepped in that ring, whether it was against his brother Owen, whether it was against Shawn Michaels, the British Bulldog. The list goes on and on, you know, Stone Cold. He put on great matches with everyone. Damn near everyone. It was hard to have a bad match against Bret the Hitman Hart, you know. It's very, very hard. The closest thing to Bret Hart nowadays, in my opinion, probably would be Bryan Danielson. I know that CM Punk like to compare himself to Bret Hart, or he idolizes Bret Hart. But like when I think of Bret Hart, I think of in-ring and the fact that nobody can have a bad match with Bret the Hitman Hart. And Bryan Danielson is that guy. Like modern day, it's just hard to have a bad match against Bryan Danielson. He reminds me a lot like Bret Hart, you know. So yeah, man, a lot of people dislike Bret Hart because they think that Bret Hart is bitter. They, you know what I'm saying, and this and that. I just think that Bret Hart is a real guy. He's a real motherfucker. You know, he tells it how it is. I listen to some of his shoot promos and shit like that. Bret Hart is that motherfucking guy. And I really do feel like that if he never got injured against Goldberg and if all that shit never happened, I know he was around 30, his late 30s or early 40s that time of that injury. But I believe that Bret Hart could have still went on at least like 5 more years, man. If he would have never got hurt, Bret Hart would have been still wrestling, still competing, I would say, in the Ruthless Aggression era. Like, no bullshit. Bret Hart would have still been competing if he never got hurt, bro. And it sucks to me that we didn't really get to see Bret Hart in the ring with some of the guys like Bryan Danielson, Kurt Angle, you know what I'm saying? Eddie Guerrero. And I'm talking about throughout the Ruthless Aggression era. It sucks that we didn't really get to see Bret Hart against some of those guys that came up after him. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna move on though to our next criteria, man. Our next criteria, which is promos. Promos is very, very important. A very, very important skill in wrestling, just like in ring. I would say in ring is the most important skill in professional wrestling, but probably second, in my opinion, are promos. And God, this was just so tough. This was a very, very tough pick by me because all of these guys I got listed, you see on the screen, are damn good promos. I mean, amazing at what they do on the mic. But I went with The Rock. It was very tough because Stone Cold could have been the GOAT. He could have been the GOAT in my opinion. But it's really 1A, 1B between The Rock and Stone Cold. But God, man, The Rock is just deadly on the mic. He's just amazing. It's very, very few people that can touch The Rock on the mic, and Stone Cold is a part of that list. Not many people past Stone Cold can touch The Rock on the fucking mic, bro. Especially a one-on-one segment. The Rock is roasting you the entire segment. He is not stopping, and the crowd was going to be behind him 1,000% throughout the entire segment. There's a reason why he is known as the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, because anytime The Rock has a mic, anytime he returns back to professional wrestling, bro, we shut up and listen. It's always a great time when The Rock is on the mic. We've never really, got bored of hearing The Rock. Like, you never get bored of hearing The Rock on the mic. Even though we've been hearing him for years now, you never get bored of hearing him, bro, because it's always something funny. It's always something special. But like I said, Stone Cold, he's definitely up there as well, in that GOAT category for promos. Ric Flair is another one. Ric Flair, like this, like I said, it was a very tough list because I'm a big Ric Flair fan. I love the shit he used to say on the mic, the shit he used to do. Not even just the shit he would say. The fact that he would fucking, get pumped up, knee absolutely nothing in the center of the ring, hit elbow drops on absolutely nothing in the center of the ring. I fucking love that shit. The fact that he would just damn near have a heart attack. He did have a heart attack one time during the promo. I think it was I'm pretty sure that was a work. But man, like the shit that Ric Flair used to do in his promos was like no other. Like Ric Flair in his prime was the best promo of all time. Was the best promo ever in the industry. Until guys like Stone Cold and guys like The Rock came up. And then let's not forget, you know what I'm saying, CM Punk, the pipe bomb. CM Punk is a very, very good promo as well. He will go down as one of the best on the mic. You know what I'm saying? He's a very controversial figure in professional wrestling, but he is damn good on the mic. That's why when he returned back at Survivor Series, fuck, I just spilled a little bit of water. It's all right though. When he returned back at Survivor Series, it was the most viewed video in WWE history, I believe. Like, if I'm not mistaken, they said it was like one of the most viewed returns ever. Because yes, he's a pretty fucking damn good in-ring performer. Yes, he's good in the ring, but it's when I think of CM Punk, I think of his promos. It is his promos that really makes him stand out. What he says on the mic. He is a master on the mic, you know what I'm saying? And that pipe bomb really set him over, like, over that echelon. Back to Stone Cold though. Stone Cold, like I said, just like The Rock, he can get the fans pumped up. The fans are chanting, what? After every word he says. Like, the fans are invested in guys like Stone Cold, guys like The Rock. You know what I'm saying? Guys like Ric Flair and guys like CM Punk. Like, when I think of some of the best promoters in wrestling, these are the guys I think of, because the fans are always invested. And there are a lot of guys out here that are not on this list that are pretty damn good on the mic, you know? Pretty damn good promoters. But I feel like these are the 4 best, and it was very hard for me to choose the absolute GOAT on the mic, but I did go with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So yeah, man, we're gonna move on to our next criteria, which is charisma. Charisma is another important skill that you need in professional wrestling, because in order for you to sell out shows, sell tickets, and generate money, you need to have charisma. You need to have a fucking great character that the fans can be invested in. And I went with the absolute GOAT in this criteria. I picked Stone Cold Steve Austin. I really do feel like Stone Cold Steve Austin is the greatest character of all time, the greatest gimmick of all time. A lot of people say that Vince McMahon is the greatest character, or Mr. McMahon, but you know what I'm saying, Stone Cold Steve Austin. But there was no one, absolutely no one, who was on the level of Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Attitude Era. No fucking body, man. I wasn't even around. I wasn't even born during the fucking Attitude Era. But there was absolutely no one. Me going back, watching the DVDs and watching the tapes of the old Attitude Era moments and matches, bro, all I seen was Stone Cold every fucking night, bro. It's not like how The Rock shows up nowadays, like a part-timer. It was every night. Stone Cold had the biggest pop of the entire fucking night. When you hear that glass shatter, the crowd is on their feet, bro. I've never seen anything like that. And the absolute fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin is still one of, I believe that he was the #1 seller last year in merch. And he is not even a fucking active superstar. Just let that sink in. Stone Cold Steve Austin has been officially retired since 2003. Since 2003 was the last time we've seen Stone Cold inside the ring. And he is still one of the top merch sellers in WWE. Austin 316 will forever be like one of the best sayings, probably the best catchphrase of all time. Like, holy fucking shit. And I've got big names as the runner-up. Guys like Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and Ric Flair. Let's talk about Hulk Hogan for a little bit. I'm not a big fan of Hogan. Hogan has said some racist ass shit, but it is what it is, no? It is what it is. But let's not forget, Hogan was the biggest star in WWF before The Rock, before Stone Cold Steve Austin. There was Hulk Hogan. Hogan really did wonders for WWF. It did wonders for Vince McMahon. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, like I really don't know if the WWF/WWE would make it this far. Like, no, seriously. Hogan has done tremendous wonders for not only just WWF, but for WCW as well. Hogan is Hogan, like I said, I'm not a big Hogan guy, but he definitely deserves his flowers in the wrestling world because he's done so much for the wrestling industry. You know, so I respect Hogan for that. I respect Hulk Hogan for doing all he can for this industry. And let's go on to The Rock. The Rock, I see if it wasn't for Stone Cold, if it was just The Rock in the Attitude Era, he would be the number one guy. He would have been the number one guy, the absolute number one guy. But he was just around right at the peak of Stone Cold. But the fact that The Rock was just as over as Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they collided together in their absolute primes, says something about The Rock, because they needed a second star. The WWF needed a second star, and The Rock did just that. He was the second star. When Stone Cold was out, I believe Stone Cold, when he had that injury, was it around like 2000? It was around like 99 through 2000. He was out for a little bit. And The Rock was the number one guy throughout that whole year when Stone Cold was out. If it wasn't for The Rock, like I said, if it wasn't for Stone Cold being around, The Rock would have been the absolute number one guy in the Attitude Era. But you know what I'm saying? He was just around during peak Austin 316. But he was still the second star. He was the guy. This is why that Stone Cold and The Rock will always have, they will always be interconnected in conversations. Like whenever you talk about Stone Cold, you might want to bring The Rock up in that in that conversation. Whenever you talk about The Rock, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna bring up Stone Cold because they were 1A and 1B in the Attitude Era. They carried that fucking era. Stone Cold, The Rock. And I know there were more guys in that era, a lot of other big names in that era, but it was Stone Cold and The Rock. Ric Flair as well has so much charisma. Was one of the biggest. He was the biggest star in the territory days. Back in the NWA, WCW. He went over to WWF, won the WWF title and the Royal Rumble. Was it 92, I believe. He's done a lot. He's done so much. So he's also a runner-up in this list. The fact that I didn't really put Ric Flair as a GOAT because he wasn't really that person mainstream. Like when you talk about Stone Cold, when you talk about The Rock and Hogan, these guys did it on the absolute biggest stage. Ric Flair, he was doing his shit in the territories, you know? He wasn't on WWF on a nightly basis drawing those numbers. But he was still drawing numbers. It just wasn't on the biggest stage. And this is why I have Stone Cold Steve Austin as number one, as the GOAT of the charisma skill. Because he was doing this on a nightly basis, drawing in packed houses, sold out arenas. Every night the glass shatters, everyone is on their feet. Everybody on their feet for one man, Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is why Stone Cold Steve Austin is number one for the charisma criteria on this list, man. Let's move on to our very, very last but not least criteria, which is longevity. Now, longevity is a very, very overlooked part in professional wrestling because you need longevity. You know, not a lot of wrestlers, not a lot of pro wrestlers have longevity. They are not around for that much of a long time because when you do pro wrestling, you basically taking bumps after bumps after bumps, breaking your body down slowly, just damn near killing yourself. But there are some professional wrestlers that have been around for a long ass time that have reinvented themselves and that have stayed over with the fans forever. The GOAT of this criteria is no other than Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. Yeah, Ric Flair. The limousine riding, jet flying, wheeling dealing, kiss stealing. Woo! Son of a gun. Yeah. Ric Flair is the GOAT of longevity. Who else could I have put as the GOAT? This man has been around for ages. When I first seen Ric Flair, this man was old as hell. He is still around to this day. Old as hell. Even in the 80s, Ric Flair was old as fuck. How is that even possible? Ric Flair, like, a lot of people don't like Ric Flair nowadays because the shit he said after his career, was over. A lot of people have mixed feelings about Ric Flair. And Ric Flair has done some questionable shit over the last couple of years. But you can't deny the fact that this man is God. It's so fucking crazy how long Ric Flair has been alive. Like, you would think Ric Flair would be fucking, and I hate to say this, you would think this man would be dead by now. After all the bumps this man has took, the shit that he used to do outside the ring, I mean, just and so many other factors in that, I'm surprised this man is still mobile. And let's not forget, this man had a match not like 2 years ago. In the Ric Flair's last match, that whole shit. Like, the fact that this guy is still on shows, still taking bumps in 2024 is fucking crazy to me. It is absolutely crazy. This is why I will always respect Ric Flair, man. Like, this man, like, I don't know. I actually think what he said might be true. He said that he wants to die in that ring, man. He will die in a professional wrestling ring. The hell, that might be true, bro. Fucking around with Ric Flair. But with runner-ups, I got Undertaker. A lot of people forget, man, Taker has been around. Besides Ric Flair, man, like, it's not really many people that I can think that has been around as long as him. Undertaker has been around for a very, very long ass time. He's been around for at least, I think, around about 30 years, 35 years, 35, one of the two. The streak has lasted over multiple years. Over 20 years, the streak has lasted. And Taker is one of those guys that has reinvented himself, even though for the most part he was still the dead man. But people always were behind Undertaker and what he did. You know what I'm saying? Undertaker is one of those guys that has been around for a long ass time and deserves his flowers for his longevity, you know. Another guy that has received a lot of criticism recently, Chris Jericho. The Learning Tree, Chris Jericho. Hi guys! Hey man, you hate him or love him, I will always like Chris Jericho for the fact that he's been around for a long time as well. And just not his longevity, but the fact that this man he's done this multiple times in the past to where he switches up his gimmick or it's always something new with Jericho. Even if it's good, even if it's bad, he's always doing something new. That's what I like about Chris Jericho. Because a lot of guys, they get complacent. A lot of guys, you know what I'm saying, have one gimmick and stick with that gimmick for the rest of their careers. Chris Jericho has had so many gimmicks, so many characters over the years of him being a professional wrestling, over him being a professional wrestler. So yeah, man, like let's list some. The Painmaker Jericho, you had the fucking you just make the list. Jericho, you had Rockstar Jericho, you had Suit Jericho. I mean, so many Jerichos. You had Lionheart Jericho. So many versions of Jericho. He will forever go down as one of the GOATs. And he's definitely a future Hall of Famer. Because, yeah, man, he's been around forever. And I know now people want to see him take another hiatus. I'm one of those people. I think Chris Jericho needs to take a little break. You know what I'm saying? At least a 6-month hiatus or something. I'm tired of seeing the guy on television right now. So, it is what it is. But as far as longevity goes, Chris Jericho has it in the bag. And another guy I had on this runner-up list is Shawn Michaels. Now, Shawn Michaels has basically had 2 careers. Post him finding Jesus and pre him finding Jesus, you know. Basically, pre-injury and post-injury. Because Shawn Michaels started, I believe, in like the 1980s, early 80s, till like 1997 or 98. I believe it was 97. He had his, it might have been 98. He had his last match against Undertaker. I believe it was that match. That was his last match before he went on like a 4-year retirement. And he returned back in the ring in 2002. So he had basically had 2 careers, and not a lot of wrestlers can do that, can pull that off. Can have multiple careers, 2 careers as a professional wrestler. It's like Shawn Michaels did it, bro. Now, me personally, I'm more of a fan, and I guess it's because I was actually born and actually seen this version of Shawn Michaels. I was more of a fan of him post-injury, like from 2002 all the way up until his last match against Undertaker. We do not talk about that bullshit match they had at fucking in Saudi Arabia, that tag team match. We don't bring that shit up. That was terrible. But yeah, man, I respect all of these guys for their longevity. And like I said, the GOAT of this skill is Ric Flair. So far, my 4 GOATs of every skill has been for in-ring, Bret Hart, for promos, The Rock, for charisma, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and for longevity, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Now, that's pretty much the end of this video. If you all have any other opinions or any other GOAT nominations, let me know in the comments down below, man. I'm always open for discussion in the comments. So yeah, make sure y'all chat something. But other than that, make sure y'all have a good day, man. Stay safe, stay cool. And I'm gonna see y'all next video. Peace.